Welcome back to the Tailosive Tech Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we were really hoping to get the three of us together in person, but unfortunately,
What are you guys doing in my house?
we succeeded. You should lock your doors more, man.
Yeah.
Are we doing a podcast?
Now.
You let your doors open and we just walked in, no one was here.
Why are you here? Who are you people?
You did not pay attention last night to what you were drinking.
This guy is just sneaking up on everyone. First, the snazzy guy, now you. Who's next?
You.
We're in Colorado. There's a lot of YouTubers here.
There is.
Randy Nexus.
Stetson.
Some other inferior ones, but
Oh, gosh.
Other inferior. Unlike this highly covenant podcast.
can I just say, it's lovely to see you both in 4K.
You can hear me in 4K.
He's real,
I was,
everyone.
like, no joke, the first time you started talking to me when we arrived, I was like, I'm not used to hearing your voice so clear. It's
bass.
so, yeah, I'm used to StreamYard compression, and this is a very bizarre
Yeah, what y'all don't
sensation.
know is there's actually a lot more bass in Randy's voice that gets filtered out.
I said, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome. Welcome to my abode.
Everything is so clear. And I believe this might be our last episode before Big Day.
My birthday.
Wait.
This is
No.
also our first podcast that we're doing in person, all three of us. We've hung out plenty of times off
Once.
record.
1, 2,
I think
twice.
twice. Yeah.
No. 2 at your house. We met up at In-N-Out. You came to my baby shower.
4.
4 that I know
Okay.
immediately.
But we never recorded until
This is
now.
the very first one, yeah.
And if you're hearing this, it worked.
That means I'm in the Matrix.
And
Okay.
we're at T-minus a couple days before official Christmas Day for Apple users.
Because they changed the date just to be
Yeah,
like,
they
aha,
did.
they can't surprise us.
I heard there was a legitimate reason surrounding some kind of presidential debate, but I don't think anybody watches those.
Who?
I don't know. Politics
My
stuff.
father always said, hey, Joey, you got
I
Not
can't take
him.
off my
They just-
headphones.
you just,
Help,
you can.
please.
Just come on, man. Come on, what are you doing? Not him.
Normally, Mike can mute Randy.
Now
not
I can
now.
say every inappropriate, nasty. You can't censor my famous jokes now. So next week,
Where do we all fall on this? I think we're in a perfect spectrum. I think you're not interested at all.
No.
Randy's,
Why am I on this podcast?
I don't know. We're,
I'll just leave.
we're
There's no interest. No, there is some interest, but go ahead.
well, it's better than all three. Honestly, the community brought this up in our last episode on the road.
Oh,
Have you read those comments?
no.
Thank God.
Someone was asking about my nails. They're really great, by the way.
They
for
matched
asking.
the, which phone?
The 11 Pro, which I don't have on the desk right now.
You don't need them because this is your reminder, everybody.
Yeah.
But no, they were like, why should I listen to this? Which is an excellent question. We're still looking for an answer. But
Join
why
us on
should I
this
listen
journey.
to this when you're complaining about the next iPhone already and you're not excited about the new AirPods? And he got ratioed quite thoroughly. And not by me, by another listener that said, if you want a podcast that just glazes over Apple nonstop, you know where to find those. These guys are being genuinely critical, which is so that's why I say you should be on the podcast.
Oh,
You
okay.
provide the reasonablest. You actually represent most of the planet, which is me and Randy geeking out and Mike going, why?
oh God, no, stop.
Well, I was also thinking another reason why we didn't talk about it, it's secretly off the record, but now on the record, is because we didn't have this guy in the car. Or at least, allegedly.
Not in the cabin.
Not in the
I
car.
was in the trunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very tight in there.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you fit just fine.
There was some tripods.
Not in the front.
The
No, in the
front. Yeah, that's a little
The
tight.
front was rough.
Well, the spectrum I was getting at was Mike is uninterested, and you're almost, I don't know if you're on the record, but it feels like you're almost committed to upgrading, regardless of what happens.
This is the debate that we needed.
Mm-hmm. And I'm in the middle somewhere. I'm literally between you two.
As we do on the video podcast all the time.
Between two ferns.
I haven't shaved in a while, but...
Hello. Welcome to Between Two Frames. I'm your host, Zach Galifianakis. What's it like to be the last in-person podcast?
The last podcast ever.
How does it feel to be the last host of the Tech Podcast?
How does it feel knowing this is the end? The beginning of the end.
Can you imagine?
I can.
Yeah. It's like, it could be. Very well could be.
Life, and anyway, so I don't know if I'm on the record enough to say that I will definitively do it.
I'm going to pull up
There's
one of
a-
your video titles.
Okay.
Just
While
to
he's
remind
doing
you.
that, I mean, we have my. I'll just do it.
just
right
ignore
here
him.
for you.
Talk to me.
I'll talk to you.
Why?
As we always do. Go ahead.
Why I'll have, in all caps, learning from Sawyer there, to upgrade from my...
Oh.
Sawyer Merritt, for those who don't know. Why I'll have to upgrade from my iPhone 15. Now, because of the wording of the use up, I take that as the only way out of getting a 16 would be to buy
A 15 Pro.
this phone.
No, I don't want your phone.
You want my phone?
I
That
don't
wouldn't be an
know.
upgrade.
No.
I would say it's an upgrade.
Because what I've learned on these, what I've learned in these quarters of the world of my own tech trials and tribulations is that I find myself doing more things that you do with your phone now, which makes a base model iPhone not convenient for my productivity anymore. So there is a scenario I might get a 15 Pro after the 16s come out, but it would be a minimum of a 256. I think I like the half, but realistically, if I know I'll run with it for at least a year and maybe jump again, 256 will work.
I probably should have gone 252.
Well, back then you didn't have the look where you're at. You know,
Here we are.
who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Not me.
What's yours again? Are you 128?
I think I'm 256 as well.
Oh, that explains a lot.
I'd have to check.
Because you recorded so many things on the road
Yes.
trip. It was like, how is that phone?
I
And
full?
ProRes too.
I future-proof.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to be capturing a whole bunch of stuff, and I might be too lazy to back it up on the Mac
I'm getting to that point.
and or hard drives.
The laziness is
Real.
really kicking up. Yeah.
So I'm very interested in upgrading, and the part that more like on the record, we've definitely talked about, and we'll see. Look, hope I'm wrong here, but I hate being so like upfront, obnoxiously, so obviously software locked. And it's not because I want generative AI. It's because I like the integrative Siri stuff that has nothing to do with it for generative stuff. Nothing with AI, but how I use my phone is a lot of typing, texting, thumbing, things. If that definitively came to the 15, and that's how I can use Siri now with the whole screen and just do all that, and it does the preemptive, like, oh, it's already autofilling suggestions, kind of like what happens on the Spotlight for the phone. I would be pretty okay with hanging out with my 15 a lot longer. However, the pros, if I'm going to upgrade, I think this might be the first time, and this is where I feel like a hypocrite. There's something about happening in the pros with the cameras that now that I'm using my phone a lot more is driving me to use that more. Because ultimately, I'm phasing out my Sony, wherever it's at.
Oh, yeah.
It is getting phased out more and more. I find ways to use this when I'm doing the Randy Nexus because I want to, and I do like the 4K that is with this sensor. But everything outside of literally that one scenario, it's all things on the phone, all things all the time. And as a father, to me, I love capturing the moment of all things with my kid, and I like the idea of doing the iPad challenge taught me how much for my use case, I can get by on my phone. So if I just had a stronger phone,
Yeah.
I'm not in a hurry. I do want an M4 iPad, as we talked about last time we were doing the show. I do want one, but I won't hurry to get it when I know I can do everything I need to do on my phone. And then this will my Mac will still continue to be the podcasts and the music and nothing else. It's every intention to phase out the Mac to be as little as possible, and I want to promote the iPad to be more. My current iPad won't do the work for me, but the iPhone can hopefully be an all-in-one phone, maybe even a DeX thing. I don't know. But in those sense, that's what I'm looking for in an iPhone. So I'm always interested in upgrading if I can get to that new pinnacle thing that I'm looking for within my use case of content creation and personal life, family documentation.
You realize he's come back around now.
Where?
He used to be
Where?
all about the pros, and it was like, I want to simplify and all that. It's a whole seasonal thing going on.
I wasn't always about the pros.
It seemed like you were
No.
when I first came on this whole entire.
I was a
crazy-
mini guy when you came on.
Okay, well before that.
You're still a mini guy.
Okay, well then I'm just not paying attention to anything that you're buying these days.
You're hearing key words, but I've always advocated for iPhone Mini to be that 13 Mini is by far best color palette.
And you used the 12 mini before the 13
Yep.
mini, right?
Yeah. My last Pro that I actually I want this, I need this, was the 11 Pro. It introduces it was the first three camera array, and it was midnight green.
You had to buy that one.
Had to.
The colors were just...
Maybe I'm thinking of you with the whole circling back around with the
I have
pros.
circled.
He's circled.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
I look like a MagSafe.
Speaking
how
of,
do you feel? Where are you on the spectrum now of excitement for next week? Upgrading a phone for next week. All things next week. Where are you at? Where's your headspace?
I'm pixel curious.
it's one way to put it.
We just call it curious.
You knew exactly what that meant. Yeah, I'm actually a little nervous.
Twitter's a good spot for that, by the way.
I apologize because Randy had to go and have a child. We had to ruin everything. No, he had to. We
It's
had
a
to watch.
debilitating disease.
While we're staying
In the best
here,
ways.
Yeah.
it's the best disease you could. We had to watch him here, obviously, because your wife is at work.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to hang out all together, but we couldn't exactly record because we were collectively watching him. So making sure he doesn't
takes a
hurt
village.
himself. It does. We are the messed up, deformed,
Village.
fermented village.
Fermented.
And we had a lot of conversations that were not recorded.
Yeah.
So I might sound repetitive to you on the record, but they weren't there.
You weren't
Sorry,
there.
guys.
That's you all the time, by the way. For those
That's true.
or for those that don't know, Drew repeats stuff, both on and off podcasts. It always
true.
happens. I always have to tell him, I think you told me about this, and it just continues.
I find it quite
Which is
refreshing.
fine. Oh, okay.
As someone with dementia, it's very helpful.
Who are you people? Why are you in my
He's
house?
not sure.
So you're just
But-
you're willing to see what Apple has.
Well, what we looked at upstairs, which is now recap, is that the capture button looks like it's coming to non-pros and pros. And there's cases that have leaked that showcase why it is most likely solid state, because it's a hole in the case. It's not like a rubber piece on top of a button.
Yeah.
And looking at those leaked photos, which this late in the game are probably real, I think. They could be wrong, but usually when they're this last second, they're pretty good. And I was starting to get worried a little bit of like, this seems like a lot of buttons for a phone. And depending on how the software interprets the capture button, which we kind of have a preview of here with the ultra-wideband antenna.
Are they moving that?
Yeah, I think they're going to move this antenna to here.
Okay.
So move it from the right side to the left.
Because there's nothing here. But now this is going to, especially the rails, are going to look very visually busy.
Yeah,
You're going to
distracting.
have 3 buttons here with the action button, the volume rocker, and the ultra-wideband, which isn't really a button, but still, it's another little thing that looks like a button. And then over here you have your physical power button, and then you're going to have a slider that helps you zoom in and out and focus. And we were all trying to visualize how this capture button will be useful. And I think both of you were kind of not sold on it. It seemed like you were like, this sounds worse in some ways.
You know, there's a whole screen right here on the
Right.
face of the phone that we can use,
This
right?
is kind of helpful if it turns on.
But that's the Apple magic part, though, right? It's because
it's Dynamic Island.
They're going to put something on it that we can't anticipate. And even if we could, we don't know which route they'll go with it. That there's going to be some nuance to the slider, to clicking it, or long pressing it, or double pressing down, like focus, click. There's going to be this, because what I will say, we didn't talk about it upstairs, when Drew was telling me that it's coming to the base model 16s, it's looking like with those cases, that everyone's going to get the capture button.
And the action button.
And the action button, which I thought was a capture button. But what that tells me is there's going to be some form of focus now that's going to happen that we can... she's not getting picked up on the mic, but it's annoying me.
Hi, Kika.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
That if it requires a soft, like a half click to focus, there's something really powerful that's about to happen to these camera sensors that allows you to... We're blurring the gap between having that same function here, soft, click.
Yeah.
And
photographers know about that.
They do. And when you were talking about it, it made me want to come grab this because I'm like, okay, here's the focus, there's the click. None of that really matters when it comes to recording because recording has its own, button to that. But Apple has a way of like simplifying its UI, even with its hardware implementation of it, like the Final Cut camera. They have a way of simplifying everything to give you those granular controls. I feel, having time to think about that since you now have told me that, on all models, if it's coming, that whatever the A18 chip is about to do, plus so neural engines, this, whatever, plus the new camera spec bump, that there's going to be something almost, maybe you guys might find it better, something more cinematic, even in a photography sense, that's about to happen, that might have to do with machine learning or what they call AI now. But the sliding and having to do it, like, that part's the obvious part. It's like, imagine your focus, you have it, but then you slide it and it's doing some type of AI adjustment in live time. And just like the preview that iPhone was so good at doing for so long, you get an auto, what you see is what you're about to capture, unlike other people's or other manufacturers. They take that photo, Pixel curious, that what you see is what you get. And that's what people love, the simplicity with iPhone cameras. That imagine that sliding is doing live time adjustments in some way, whether that's some HDR filter, some auto enhance, color correct, or some blurred out new AI, whatever background thing is. I think there's something that's going to happen, and with the auto focusing, it's going to have better masking out features for its subjects. Now that you wanted to lock into that, or if you're
didn't
doing
we already
macro
have
mode.
that already?
Like
Last year, didn't
mode?
they have a whole cinematic
2
mode
years.
and or some type of way?
So maybe it's an improvement on that.
Okay.
Just like the
A manual approach or an analog approach.
Photonic Engine was the evolution of Deep Fusion. Maybe we're about to get an evolution of the cinematic mode and the photographic styles, those cards for photography. Maybe those two things from iPhone 13 are about to get an evolution three generations later.
Could.
That's what I'm starting to feel, which makes me excited because the 13 series really excited me about all that stuff.
Yeah. I think it was kind of, it was hyped and then we never ended up using it that often, though. Like, I don't use cinematic mode very frequently, even though I thought it was really cool when they announced it.
My realtor friend, and he does more than just like real estate stuff, but he has an online presence. He films everything in cinematic mode.
Really?
He hikes Pikes
Interesting.
Peak. He hikes all these things, and he finds a way. Because I tell him, like, less is more. Because I helped him, He's like, man, how do I make it look? Because he does the HDR, the whole thing. Like, it's so bright. But he's not a techie. He doesn't know. He doesn't know any of that stuff. But he knows cinematic mode does something visually. And he films all his content or his filming of real estate properties, or he does all things in cinematic mode, HDR. And he's like, I wish I could do XYZ a little bit better. And then I was like, well, we gotta wait for XYZ or at least Y and Z, but you can do this better.
But I'm sure he's not editing much of this footage.
He is.
But on a Final Cut in a Adobe, because
DaVinci.
cinematic mode falls apart as soon as you throw it into those.
He guess what's the TikTok version of editing on your phone? What's that?
CapCut?
He uses CapCut.
That one's probably better suited for it because anytime you throw it on a desktop, it has to re-export it. Like Photos has its own way of displaying cinematic video, and then you try to move it, and it's like, oh, the Mac isn't made for that.
I can't do that.
And then it has to re-export it all over again. I've tried to do. I was like, maybe I'll do tech videos in cinematic mode, and it was a pain in the butt. It's the HDR thing all over again, where it's like on the phone, yeah, it's really bright, but then as soon as you move it into a Final Cut timeline, it's like, oh, I gotta fix everything now. It's broken. Hold on, let me lower this.
That was the one thing that you were just pushing me every single time I was capturing something on this trip out here. Is it in like
HDR?
Yeah, is it in HDR? It better not be.
I'm not touching.
I'm not
that
using
footage. I'm throwing it out if it's in HDR.
There's a lot of footage.
Isn't that so backwards? To be like making sure no HDR.
Make sure this setting is turned off.
Standard dynamic range is underrated.
HDR will probably it is. It's underrated, but I think HDR will have its place when the phone processing gets better on it.
I think it's it's like we don't have a good standard for it. Yeah. TVs have like 30 different kinds of HDR standards, and half of them are worthless that you can't even tell the difference, and some of them are just like increased brightness super high. But yeah, I wonder if that's how I feel about cinematic mode. Is it always looked really good when I watched it on my phone, but if I tried to move it to somewhere else, it had to really compress it and re-export, and it slowed down the workflow so much. Maybe CapCut's got it.
I was gonna say, I think CapCut does it. He does all his stuff with CapCut, and since you do,
are they banning that too?
I didn't.
Or is that separate?
It might actually. It's separate. It has to be.
We're banning TikTok, but CapCut's fair game.
Because you're not you don't sign into Cap. I've never used it. Oh, then they'll probably ban it.
Yeah,
they'll probably get banned.
It used to not require one. I was using it for Tello, and then they made me.
You should try Tello content, like just for anything, just for your own curiosity. See what it's like filming. That's not your phone. See what it's like filming cinematic mode with CapCut, and do a short Tello content thing, just to scratch an itch to be like, is my curiosity wrong? You were wrong about the iPad. Maybe you're wrong about something else.
Ooh. Okay.
That's a bold statement.
No.
And maybe it's I don't know. I agree that I don't think cinematic mode works for this and what we all do. Even in a podcast, if we were to bulk of this out, it becomes more distracting. I don't think HDR is great, but my friend with his real estate empire, I'm in the empire business. he finds a way to make, and I'm like, that's actually pretty cool. I could do without the HDR, but I see why he's doing it. Not because of the bright skies, but because of everything else he's capturing on these travel trip things. I was like, that's really neat. It almost feels in person. With that standard thing, maybe the only place it's applicable is if you're wearing like Vision Pro and you're like, it feels like real life.
That's the funniest thing to me about the iPhone 16 camera bump being moved, is like, well, we need it that way to record spatial video, and I'm like, how many people have Vision Pro? And
it's the opportunity to port those photos over
Lucky
to
us.
Vision Pro.
So the camera bump redesign is an ad.
Yes, in a way, but it's not a in-your-face ad. It's more of, this doesn't affect anything that you're doing. It's just there. So that way, if you do want spatial video and all that, that possibility's there. So it's not really an ad. It's more of just...
And you can watch spatial video on the Quest.
You can?
Yeah, they added that. I was surprised.
Did the iPhone 15, when they announced last year, did they auto capture spatial as well? Or did you have to go into spatial? Like, you know how like,
what do you mean?
With the 15, it can auto portrait?
I remember that being a headline.
Oh.
Does it, besides
no,
auto
I don't think so. I think spatial video is more specific because it especially needs the lenses to be aligned in the same position.
For the 15 Pro, I'm saying, like, would it not... Oh, he's lying, Mike. He's lying to the people.
What?
That looks like my phone.
No.
We'll get there.
Okay. He's lying. Okay, no.
Oh, I see what you're talking
about. So
where'd that go?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I don't know. We'll get there. If it's not an auto...
Watch till the end. Is that what the big YouTubers do?
You'll be surprised.
Like and subscribe.
You'll
Fraud,
never guess.
red lines.
You'll never guess what Drew did. So
You'll never guess who he hired.
You'll never guess where the option is. So if you go into formats, I think spatial video. Obviously, I have it turned off. spatial video for Apple Vision Pro. You turn that on.
Yeah.
You don't have this. So
I
you
don't
know how it works. When you go to video, you have to make sure it's sideways like this. There's the option. There's the little Vision Pro
I
button.
say it, and then I saw it.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Macros throwing it off.
Yeah.
There's too many settings. There.
Boom.
So we turn it on, and it gives you this leveler thing. And try it. There's actually taptic feedback when you make it perfectly level. So if you tilt it a little bit.
I do have this tilt taptic feedback, though.
But now try to start,
recording?
No, move to portrait mode.
Okay.
And see what it does.
Oh, rotate. It says rotate iPhone to landscape.
Right. So you can't do that in the regular 15 because
more light is recommended.
it's so specialized, and I tried it and I didn't even like it.
So I guarantee you iPhone 16, all of them, base model and Pros, iPhone 16 will have an auto spatial thing happening at all times.
As long as it's in landscape.
When you watch the playback, everything is in a square.
But Vision OS 2, I think, did what is for photos, is what you're thinking. You could auto turn any photo using machine learning into a spatial photo.
That's it.
Video.
But I think video, now that we have
the
the
next
orientation,
step.
I think for the iPhone 16s going forward, it's going to we're going to lose the feature to turn it on or off. It's just always going to be.
But what you're saying is moving the cameras would be pointless. They don't need to be in that orientation.
No, because with video, it's going to be when you're in this position. Mm-hmm. When you're in, I'm using mics. Oh, I can't. I forgot.
Here.
Never mind. When you are in this position, it is auto doing it, whether or not you are trying to capture spatial or not. You'll be like, okay, filming. And if in the future you want to go back and convert that to a spatial video, you can. Because you have filmed it like this.
Dang it.
That is an iPhone 16 thing.
I don't agree with you, but I'm going to help your argument here. Another rumor for the pros, at least, is that the ultra-wide lens is being upgraded to 48 megapixels.
Terrible inside joke.
I mean, I think John Morrison made similar jokes, but yeah.
I think he did.
Right now, the best lens and the best camera is always the main sensor.
Yes.
Because that's the big... it's not all about megapixels, but it lets in the most light. And that's the only one that's... this one, actually. It's the only one that's 48. This is still 12.
12.
And they're on the 12. Pros upping this to 48, and this will be 48. And then that would allow you to... Because I think how spatial video works is, it's capped at 1080p.
Yes.
And that's because they're taking the 4K sensor of the ultra-wide, cropping in so that it's the same focal length as your eyes, so that it matches up. So you have two lenses that are the same zoom, and then you have two perspectives, and that's how they make it spatial. Mm-hmm. So if the pros have two 48 megapixels up there, that means at least you could do spatial video at 4K, or perhaps they do what you're saying and they let you convert any video, whether it was spatial or not, into a spatial video.
When filmed in landscape.
Because that depth information's there.
It'll be there, and it'll just be in the background. Every photo I take is now portrait eligible. I don't convert it, but it's portrait eligible.
Which I actually really like, because I never remember, like when we were out hiking the other day.
Yeah.
I never remember to switch to the portrait mode setting, but like the picture you took of me and my wife, we just converted it to portrait, and it looked great. I was like, wow, that's a lot easier. Just bokeh this photo.
Boom.
And maybe that's what they want to do with it. Again, still pointless because no one has a Vision Pro.
Doesn't that mean more information is having to be stored, though, in the photo?
Yes.
Which means it's just going to increase the amount
Your
of
iCloud
storage.
will magically be more full.
And they will find a way to make that a good thing. Because they'll be like, all this is happening with only an additional 2 megabytes more, or 2...
They wouldn't say that. They would say we're capturing more detail for you, so that way these precious moments, if anything is imperfect, you can make it look exactly how you want.
It can be relived.
They did bring up the size last year about all this with a 48 megapixel, but now not even half the... Because they even show you in the settings, but I remember them talking about it, that this is what a 12 megapixel would on average take up space, and here's what a 24 megapixel would do. And if you want the full 48, then you get the full 48. But the default is now 24, and you would think that like, oh, so it's doubling the storage, and it's not. And so they made that sound like a good thing, even though it's taking up more iCloud storage.
It's still taking up more storage.
Yeah, but like you get all this new additional stuff for not even half the additional size. Like they'll twist it like a studio display or a Pro XDR display with an additional arm for another $1,000. They'll find a way to make that a good thing.
Apple's very good at pushing standards or specs a little bit further than everybody else.
Yeah.
Just so that they can say, we can do it better than anybody else just by that much. But because of that little extra, we need to charge twice as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, my pushback to that is I don't think they would reorient the iPhone 16 cameras if it was possible to convert a video into a spatial video.
Why not? It's staggered right now.
Why not just keep them the way it is?
Because it's staggered right now.
That wouldn't hurt it, though. If
It would.
It would.
Why?
Because now you're capturing it at two different locations that aren't...
No, but he's saying you won't need... you can convert non-spatial videos into...
when filmed in landscape.
Oh.
Starting with the 16s going forward.
I see what you're saying.
16 going forward.
Basically, they're going to force it.
Yes.
You won't have a choice of not putting that spatial
It
data
will
in.
have the spatial data integrated in all these photos for an Apple thing.
That's more believable, I guess.
That's
what I thought you were saying.
Yeah. They're going to... You can't backtrack. You can't retrofit.
So you can't take videos from your 13 mini and
Yeah.
turn them spatial.
Well, 13 mini is also stagnant.
That's
but the
why.
12 mini... Maybe the 12...
Well, they wouldn't have that metadata.
That's true.
It would just be the one perspective.
It wouldn't get those iOS
were,
18.
I thought they were going to take the argument of we can convert old footage to spatial, but only with the power of A18.
It's probably the way they...
Starting with A18.
So if you move footage from your old phone to this phone, then it will convert it. But you can't just say, give me iOS 18.1 or .2.
Yeah.
No.
No,
You need the silicon.
You need to start with the iPhone 16.
This is an Apple Intelligence feature.
This is a feature, and they'll tell you it's good. I feel so confident about that. I might be wrong, but that's something Apple would do. They will force integrate that data into each video that you take, whether you want it or not, when filmed in that perspective.
It's too bad they dropped the dual camera on the iPad Pro.
So then why would they? Well, maybe they realized
It
that.
has LiDAR. Is that enough?
No.
I don't even really know what LiDAR fully does.
And Apple Vision Pro already came out.
Yeah,
and we
so-
still don't know.
And I still, like, my hands can phase through the environment.
The funny thing about that object occlusion thing is it works better on iPads than it does on Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Even on iPads without LiDAR. Like, they can just have a single camera, and you place something in the room, and you'll put your hands in front of it, and it masks it out, and you can put things behind it, and it'll adjust the shadows.
Yeah.
And you do that with Vision Pro, and it won't do any of those things. And I'm like,
Vision Pro's not even getting AI, and it has an M
that's
chip.
true. There's an M2. Whereas the M1 can run Apple until, I don't know,
A 2020 MacBook Air running M1.
which is $700 at Walmart.
Yeah. We'll get all of the Apple features. But the $3,500 M2 Vision Pro does not get Siri support like that.
Doesn't need it.
Man, you can say that for any of them. You could say that for any of them.
I'm taking the iPad approach of like, no, it's not that type of device.
The Vision Pro?
Yeah. Doesn't
For
need
Siri?
It doesn't need it.
I feel like if anything, it would be more because
Nah.
it's more talking to the generative things. The whole set is generating
It
something.
doesn't have a bezel to light up. They don't know how to make the animation work. It has to. It just makes your whole vision look like LSD.
I kind of like the idea that you're painting right here with like an orb in front of you, like the Siri orb.
Yeah.
And you
3D.
can touch it, and it like.
Oh, that'd be so cool if I could like the power of the internet.
I'd like more of like your hand phases through and it reacts
like
to
the
it.
gun.
That'd be sick.
Like a water orb in space. You're just cutting
It's
through
like the
it.
Gun King at the end of Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Followed by 8 movies of war. It's beautiful.
My old Palpatine's just like, we will watch your progress with great interest.
That's us looking at Vision Pro.
Yeah.
We'll watch your career with great interest.
Will we give
It's
a cheaper Vision product a fair shake for its money next year or 2 years from now.
What do you mean by
think
that?
So now rumors are that they're halting on all things to continue on with the Vision Pro 2, the next gen of it, and now they're going to focus on the cheaper variant for it. So it might not have that pass through where you can see the eerie eyesight thing going on, and just take away some features that aren't necessary. Maybe you don't need it metallic or something heavy, something maybe aluminum or even plastic, something light.
That's revolutionary.
That's plastic. I would make it out of whatever that is.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
The Magic Mouse.
The glass? It's glass. Glass is glass.
I bet there's...
And glass breaks.
I haven't seen a shattered one yet.
Let's figure it out.
I'll show you afterwards. I have one that's cracked a little bit.
Oh.
But point is that they're going to make a cheaper headset and one far more affordable.
I think that'll be the most interesting product of the year, most likely.
I agree.
Because everything else is such a iteration upon... Like, I want to get excited for the fact that there's probably a new iPad mini coming next week.
Mm-hmm. That kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
At least in terms of the leak.
Wait, instead of October, like tomorrow or next week?
Well, it's not confirmed, obviously, despite what you may read on the internet. But the iPad mini 6 inventory is super low. And a lot of people think that now would be a good time with the launch of Apple Intelligence to make the iPad mini also have it. Just so it's...
Either A18 or an M. They won't do M.
It's been 3 years since the last
That was
mini.
This is the best tablet.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
And that's saying something.
We have 2 on the table right now.
Because we don't often all agree on something. But
yeah,
I want to be excited, but it's just going to be new chip, Apple Pencil Pro support probably. And
the upsell.
that's about it. I'm trying to think of what else they're going to do. I want them to add promotion.
Will it have A18 Bionic something or other, or will it have an M chip?
I would guess A18, but some people think it'll go M.
I think it's A18 because
with Apple Intelligence features.
Yep, because they're going to say we could find a way
because it's A18.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
And the other genius thing about using an A18 is they can say Final Cut needs an M chip. We can't put Final Cut on the iPad.
Oh, man.
But if they put an M2 chip in there, now they have to redesign Final Cut to work on an 8-inch display, and they probably don't want to do that.
And that means something this small and light and portable can also have an extended display, and thus you're getting closer to that DeX
And they're
vision.
like, that sounds like a lot of work. We'll just say A18 and call it a
The
day.
iPad mini is the closest thing to having the almost the perfect iPhone to have DeX if it was to work with the Thunderbolt, which only works on M series iPads. And because I like, that makes sense. They're gonna do an A18. There's no way they'll do an M because you're right. Final Cut, external display to sport.
Next week, M2.
My mindset with the new iPad minis is probably the same with the iPhones. What new colors are there that will make me excited? And that's pretty much it.
Most of the population.
Yep, that's a good reason.
You are valuable to
We
this.
know why Ariana Grande didn't go with a Pro. If anything, that's more reason as to why they should. That's what we're gonna get, a pink Pro, because of that one photo of.
If Taylor Swift with her red lipstick had a red iPhone, I guarantee we would get a product red iPhone Pro something again. Because she'd be like, she can move mountains.
Has Apple and Taylor Swift collaborated in the past?
Yes.
Apple Music ads.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that
She's very vital.
Edition.
She's vital for pop cultural, like, not references, but just presence. And that's like genius marketing. If you don't want to do the product red, just do a red iPhone and have her, hey, we call it Taylor's version or whatever.
That's what she's doing with her albums right now.
I know.
They'd call it Bad Blood.
Get out.
That's how the event ends. Is just
They go back to live music, waste 30 minutes of your life bringing out YouTube.
now everyone's iTunes is gonna have Bad Blood pre-installed.
History repeats, or it definitely has an echo. But
Also, what we haven't talked much about is Burkhart's article there about the iPad 11 is also expected to come out, which I don't even know what
next week?
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that.
Sus.
It's the cheapest one for those who don't know.
That's a lot of stuff coming out next week.
It might be kind of full. Yeah.
If this is true, then obviously we won't get an October event unless there's something revolutionary about Mac.
M4 on the Mac. That's what I think October, November is going to be about. But
Mac and then Mac,
honestly, normally I would say something along the lines of the event sounds too busy. They wouldn't want to announce the iPads, but I think these are going to be very boring iPad refreshes, which is why they would announce them alongside
with
the
a
iPhone.
potential kind of boring iPhone.
Yeah.
We don't really have anything genuinely excited to look forward to.
They're going to say it's intelligence.
A new button?
Yeah.
Scrolling thing? Taptic?
They're going to say it's the biggest screens ever, because it is.
Yep.
And they'll tout the capture button.
Titanium too.
Even more titanium. And it'll be intelligence features, I think.
Yes.
That's what they're going to boast about. But that'll be the highlight. And then the iPads will, if they do the iPad mini was unveiled at an iPhone event. The 6th gen.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
You're right. You're right. Because I ordered them all at once. Mm-hmm. Sent to my house. You guys made fun because I had a whole Christmas. It was Christmas in the Vasquez household.
Don't even remember this.
It was a while ago.
I had every version except base iPhone 13. I had 13 Pro Max, 13 Pro, 13 Mini, iPad Mini.
Remember the screenshot? It was like, I think I did it wrong, and it was all these pre-orders all at once.
Because I also got it in different colors too.
So
I did it wrong.
You like all these things. It was terrible.
All these boxes.
But that's why I think they're.
I think I did it wrong.
That's why they're at that event, is because they're just going to be chip upgrades. It's going to be very basic. Although, what could they do with the iPad 11 to make it better? They could fix the whole Apple Pencil thing.
Yes.
Could they
that right there.
Could they just make one pencil for all of them? Is that
one pencil to rule them all?
Yeah, that would be a great headline.
That's what they're doing with the AirPods, right? They're getting rid of.
Oh, we're getting AirPods next week.
They're getting rid of 2 and 3 and bringing in 4.
I'm so excited about that.
But there's talk that there will be 2 4s.
What?
Yes.
One with ANC and one without. That's cheaper. Oh. So I don't. It's like
which tells me the casing will be different.
Maybe.
It doesn't
because I think
it could just be the exact same thing as AirPods 2 with a USB-C port, and then they're like,
"Yeah,
EU, you're welcome. We did it. We listened."
That's one.
And
then the other one will have a more refreshed design update, better everything.
I just wonder how you don't eat into the sales of AirPods Pro while still having active noise cancellation.
Because ANC is a almost like it's a necessity. It feels like it's becoming less of a luxury and more of like it's expected.
I think they did mention at the last event that AirPods Pro are the most popular.
Yeah,
they outsell the cheaper AirPods.
It's all but like expected, kind of like USB-C now. Whereas transparency. Do you want that clear? Like, I think the best transparency I ever experienced was AirPods Max by far, even to this date.
That's what we really need updated, but we're not going to get.
Is that going to come like in this decade?
If the EU has their way, it should come soon, right?
By next year.
I think it's end of this year.
Like you have to be converted by 2025.
Yeah.
Man,
so they better get on it.
So AirPods 4 will look like AirPods 3 in this shape, but then there's another one with the ANC that will have those suctions, the silicon tips. Put them in your ears, and that.
So what separates that from the Pros?
Pros has transparency. It has I'm assuming spatial at the same time because the transparency is also spatial. And I wouldn't be surprised if the high fidelity playback is now a thing using the chip because they're not using Bluetooth for converting all that data through wireless. You won't get the full lossless. At least I don't think so.
You only get lossless with Vision Pro. That's the funny thing.
But
this all stems back to Vision Pro.
Vision Pro needs Mac OS.
They're all going to come back to, and this is really great when you use Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Which is a stupid angle, in my opinion.
When you put the AirPods within, paired with it, now for some whatever reason, it unlocks those.
That's something I forgot about that might come to the iPhone 16, is they established this stupid AirPods Pro 2.5. Like, if you get AirPods Pro with a USB-C case, that makes the chip different on the pods themselves. It's not just a port change, which I thought was the most confusing thing ever. I was like, just call that AirPods Pro 3rd gen.
Right.
But instead, no, it's referred to as AirPods Pro 2 with USB-C charging case. And
Insanity.
I'm like, where's our soundboard?
Insanity.
So they discovered that with AirPods Pro 2.5, if you have the H2 chip on the pods and the Vision Pro, then they can do lossless.
Yes.
But they can't do lossless to the phone. That made me thought, why don't they put the H2 chip in the iPhone so that you could have wireless lossless? Maybe
another pro feature.
Maybe that'll be an iPhone 16 thing. If that's a pro, does that make you have to go pro now?
It kind of might.
You're like, I need the lossless support.
In lifetime right now, I'm actively like wrapping up my album, and I you noticed it. I know you, because I remember you retweeting it when I made this observation. I have a better mixing experience with AirPods Pro than I do with these $200 over-ear headphones that do lossless, but it's just spatial. It doesn't do, or not spatial, it's just stereo.
Yeah.
It doesn't do spatial.
Right.
But I mix unintentionally now my music in spatial, so that way you actually get a fuller sound and you can hear everything. And it's changed my production as a producer, engineer of audio, and as a performer. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. And I find myself doing this, doing this, doing
just putting
this
on every single headphone ever.
I'm going back and forth,
right?
Because at the end of the day, what I decide is like I will mix, and I don't like this. I mix my music and anything with these, and I master and I complete it, and then I test it with the AirPods with spatial on, and then I'm listening. Did that spatial thing go right? I need to adjust that. Okay, and so it adds this resistance. If they made lossless compatibility, and I can, because when I'm testing it, I'm downloading it onto my phone because I'll put.
It sounds like such a simple thing.
Yeah.
That is still technically hardware.
Yeah.
For them to say, like, we need the H2, and that's not on your iPhone 15 Pro Max that you just spent $2,000 on, but it is on this $800 iPhone 16.
Dude, but yeah, I think if lossless was brought to the phone, not as a consumer of music, but as a producer of music, I would want the Pro. It will help me.
Even though you probably couldn't get it from the Mac.
Could or could not get lossless?
Because in this hypothetical, what Apple has established is that the only way they can do lossless over the air is if both devices have H2. And your Mac doesn't have H2.
I bet maybe the next M4 Mac refresh will have something to do with that as well. I won't upgrade, but like I will appreciate, because right now I have everything I still need, because this helps me support playback of lossless, this preamp, and the audio, because the headphone jack is a thicker port
the quarter inch
than the 3.5 millimeter, and so that is what enables all that playback for me. So I'm good production wise, but in a sense of like knowing that that's where we're moving for a Pro, I would say that is a Pro feature. Pro being a professional use case,
not profit,
not prosumer. As a producer, I would 100%. That might sell me on it, but I wouldn't hold my breath, to be honest. Yeah.
I kept feeling like, do you think it could be proximity based? Like it only works because it's so close? Or is that stupid?
No. It could use some type of high frequency.
And that's like, it works when your headphones are here and the headset is here, but it wouldn't work if your phone is in your pocket.
High frequency waves only go so far,
right,
while low frequency waves can go further. So makes me think that, could be that as well. But then,
if that's the holdup, they might not do it.
Yeah, how far? I mean, is it worth it? How far does that go?
Right.
Like, for those that want it on their Mac and all that, how close does the chip have to be? Then?
Yeah, I guess the limit would be like your pocket. If it has to be up here, then it's like pointless. So Yeah, that's something that hasn't been rumored or leaked, but something that I thought would make a lot of sense is like build that in on the phone level, and you could upsell people as iPhone 16 can do wireless lossless, but no other iPhone can.
It's good for bragging rights, and I don't think the reason why rumored or leaked or anything like that is because a lot of people won't look for it. It's a very niche market to be like audiophiles.
I kind of agree, but I also think that it would be something people don't care about, but would care if they knew they didn't have.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's like, oh, they're looking at their Apple Music membership, and they see it say like lossless playback with AirPods Pro, and then it says requires an iPhone 16. They'd be like, oh, I'm being locked out. I'm
kind of like me with.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want to feel like they're not getting the full Apple Music experience.
Yeah.
Even though they probably wouldn't notice lossless. They just, if they know it says lossless and they have the headphones that support it, they're like, placebo. It's like,
it is. There's a very high chance that if I because even minus Apple Music for streaming, if I was to put lossless and MP3 and say, hey, this is lossless and this is MP3, listen to it, and you're listening to it on YouTube, or I put it up on Instagram, Twitter, wherever, and like listen to it. One, you don't know if I'm tricking you, and I'm just saying it's lossless. Yeah, lossless sounds better. And two, even if I wasn't, it doesn't support it. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't support that bandwidth.
Yeah, they don't have it.
So if Apple we do, and it's in Apple Music, and it's all in. It's one of that vibrant ecosystem thingies of the walled garden, just getting a little bit more brighter, colorful, and a little bit taller, just a little bit, brick by brick.
It is a good garden wall.
Yeah,
they like those kinds of things.
I wanted to talk about this. Yeah, all right, go ahead.
What?
So Apple Watch, guys.
You're the only one wearing it.
Yeah, you should. I mean, are you putting this on for us or for you? Are you reading these?
No, I was just looking at. So those listening and or watching, I've got the iPad here just to look at news stories and all that, and I scrolled to the Apple Watch, and that's what Randy and Drew are pointing at right now. No, I just scrolled to it and then stopped. I mean, we can talk about it.
I want to talk about it.
Are we interested in any new watches at all? I'm not. I'm kind of done with the Apple Watch. If anything, I'm more interested in, of course, the Ring, like I've said in past podcasts.
You want a Ring.
Yeah. In which I don't see that happening anytime soon unless Apple does a one more thing this year or in the next couple of years for a Ring.
Yeah, I mean, there have been leaks surrounding it. I know they have some patents on it. So it's not completely out of the question. Apple's done things that Samsung and other people have done first and then done it better. But... yeah, it's probably not this event, but no, it would be cool.
But I'm not in the market for a new watch, or at least you're the only one wearing one right now, Randy. Mm-hmm. Are you considering a Apple Watch Series 10 or Ultra 1, 2, or 3?
He's like, you have to carry the weight of the whole podcast. You got to buy every new thing that comes out. We're just like,
I think I made a mistake. It's just nothing but every single product.
Welcome back to the Randy Nexus. I am your host with...
It's like, we believe in buying products on this channel.
We believe in giving Apple a fair shake of their money. I was interested, and as the year went on, I got less interested in a Series 10.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, I wanted the iPhone 10 zhuzh.
Yeah.
And I'm actually... because it's early stages, and I'll say it here. Why not? I'm drafting a script idea right now for a video I want to do, talking about. There's a reason why this is not going to be as big as we want it to be. The iPhone or the Apple Watch Series 10 or Series whatever they want to call it, which I assume
that's the question. Will they use X or the number 10?
So I have a theory about why it doesn't get the same attention and why. Really, any accessory that is supposed to support iPhone will not get the same attention. I'm fleshing out. I have my thoughts. I'm not at the point where I feel confident enough to even do a rough draft here with you guys. But I am fleshing this idea because I was excited beginning of the year. And as time went on, I was getting less excited. I was like, dang it. It's just another Apple Watch. And I love my Series 7. One, because it's beautiful green. I love it. But two...
to get it.
It's I like the coverage. Everything about the Series 7 I thoroughly enjoy. And I thought the first batch of rumors with the Series 10, I thought Like, oh, that's worth upgrading for. Screen real estate, comfortability, thinner, wider, bigger, brighter, all these things. I'm like, oh, okay. Everything without being as bulky as an Ultra. And as more time goes on, it's like, it's not getting the same TLC. But the iPad didn't get it either. And that, even though it's a standalone device, is a post iPhone. I have this whole thing I've talked about. Every product that's came since iPhone, post iPhone product introduced, it's in its own different world. It's not a Mac, and so because of it, it has more, restrictions of like open softwareness or compatibility, or even in some cases maybe some TLC, because the iPad didn't get a special 10th edition. The Apple Watch doesn't look like it's going to.
It got a specially crappy edition.
It did. So like now it made me think. I was like. So anyway, where I'm at is like I'm working on this idea about like why is that the case? Why is the iPhones getting all the attention? It can't, besides the money part, like, oh, because it's the best selling thing. Besides that, like, are we just like half committed to everything that came after the iPhone with Vision, with the watch, with iPad, with everything, but maybe I would say not the AirPods because they've been so amazing, but outside of the AirPods Pro, a little bit of that too, because AirPods Max is also getting neglected. And so I'm working on this thing, and I don't know why. So to come back to specifically with Apple Watch Series 10, I'm becoming less interested. I'm becoming more interested in a Ultra now, because my watch is dying. It's
welcome to the club.
Yeah,
it's showing its age a little bit, and I'm like, okay, and I'm not in a hurry to upgrade, but I am looking at an Ultra. I don't care about the Ultra 3 to get a black titanium. That doesn't matter to me. When I say I'm looking at Ultra, I'm looking at like something refurbished on Amazon. Because that price is just... They're getting more expensive with not that many new features. Don't make it a 4-figure price tag just so I can get 36 hours of battery life. That's not cool.
Well, I think that's what the 10 should be, is what it sounded like. It's just Ultra battery in a non-Ultra case.
Yeah.
A Plus model?
Ooh. Would they use that term?
Apple Watch Plus?
It's already so... I just died a little when you said that. The watch band compatibility is such a mess already. It's like this works
got two
with
separate
38,
watch bands
40,
on.
42, 40... There's so many different millimeters to keep track of. And then they add plus into the mix.
I think these were from two different editions that had different sizes, because this had gone up a size. So one of them is a 43 and then the other one's a 45 or something like that. And I'm like, oh, whatever, they both work. It's all the same. So it's just saying what it is. But I've as I've told you, I've always been a watch wearer my whole life. I like wearing watches. I am interested in a ring. Yeah,
I never was until the Apple Watch came out. Then I tried it for a few years and then got tired of it because I was sick of packing the specialized, we need a charger for that. And then the battery dies after a certain number of years. It's like, okay, now I got to buy another one. And I was like, I don't really love this cycle of like going bad, replacing. So if they were to win me back, the best way to do it would definitely be battery life, because I don't want to have to buy a new one every so often. And, to be fair, my use cases have changed a bit. Like, there was a time where, my family was in town and my grandma needed constant, like, people on alert in case something happened. Like, they needed to be able to contact us very quickly. And she's since passed. But still, it was like, I ditched it when I was trying to disconnect from my phone. And now I'm running not just my own social media, but Telos social media. So I'm on my phone a lot more than I used to be. So now I'm like, well, do I want one? I mean, my wife still wears one. She's still rocking the Series 3. I think that was Nick's way back in the day. And I'm just like, honey, can't you just let that thing die? It doesn't want to be around anymore. And she's like, it works. It still works. I can check the time for 20 minutes.
I can close my rings.
Maybe
if it doesn't die. And when they replace the battery in them, they just replace the whole watch.
I did not know that.
I believe you told me this at one point.
They can fix my screen?
They're like, sure, we'll fix that. And all they do is bring out the exact same model, and because they'll have different serial numbers.
I like the idea that they etch the same scratches into it. They take a photo.
Because it's just easier on their time to just give you a new one than a...
Yeah. No, which I believe some repairability people are like, wow, they just designed it to be more repairable. And I'm like, no, I can believe that there are certain, especially small objects, that are easier to produce at extreme scale. To the
like
point
your
that,
AirPods.
Yeah.
When you get them replaced.
I'm sure they don't cost much to make.
Yeah.
I'm convinced the cost of materials and manufacturing them is probably like $20, $50. And then they sell it for $250 or $200. And asking someone going in there and asking, can I, fix this? There's a little thing. Instead of someone meticulously tearing it apart and trying to figure out what's wrong with that tiny, they're like, just give them a new one. We have a bunch of those in stock.
He won't stop coming back. Just give him a new one.
Which they did for me several times. Anytime I was like, hey, this isn't working, they'd be like, okay, have a new one. I've had the left or the right pod replaced more than once now. And that was without Apple Care, outside of the return window. They were just like, we're Apple. We got trillions of dollars here.
That costs 20 cents to make, whatever.
So there's a lot of boring things going on at Apple. I want to hear... I'll tell you mine first and see if you agree. I think the most interesting hardware product going on this year is the M4 Mac Mini. That's finally getting a redesign after like a decade or more.
Like a genuine redesign.
Yeah.
A genuine...
And since the last time we talked, the reports are saying it'll have no USB-A and 5 USB-C ports. 2 of them being on the front.
That's kind of close to a studio.
And I was like...
That's kind of close to a studio.
I really like the frontal I/O on the studio. So that got me excited. It'll basically look like a Mac Studio, just smaller.
Does the Mac
It's a good shape and size.
It is. Opinion. No, I think that's genuinely, as boring as it is, that to me sounds like the coolest thing going on at the company, because M4 chip is probably going to be super powerful and might be... I keep waiting. I keep reviewing these new Macs with the entry-level chips.
Yeah.
I keep waiting for the day because I don't really love the idea that I spent as much as I did on my MacBook. And I want to get to a point... It's over there. You can almost see it behind Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's back there.
There it is.
Because it's having audio problems now. But I don't like the idea that in order to replace it, I have to get like a M1 Pro, M1 Max. I really like the idea of having an entry-level silicon chip that could beat that at export times and at speed. And I was like, imagine just a little block, a little Apple TV-sized Mac that could outperform that at videos. And I was like, that's... Especially with the frontal I/O, you can just plug whatever you want right there instead of fussing around with the whole... I'm like, this sounds great.
Does the Studio Mac have USB-A? 2?
I think it's 4.
I thought it had 4.
Might be 2 or 4.
USB-C.
I need to look at it again.
Oh, it depends? I'm pretty sure it's 2, because I recall the iMac Pro being one of the last Macs to have 4 USB-A. But I could be wrong.
Because my thing is...
You're the Mac Studio owner.
I don't remember.
That's why I asked them.
I'm not looking at the back of this thing every day.
That's true.
I was like, I'm asking you. You know, the only thing...
2.
I need... Not I need. I would like to hold on to USB-A as well as have those... Maybe I just want a Mac Studio because I like the 2 fronts.
It's pretty good.
And everything back. But adapters aside and stuff like that, my piano takes USB-A. It has to be USB-A.
That's fair. I don't have a piano.
Yeah, my piano does USB-A.
You don't?
No.
Everyone has them.
Maybe I should.
A lot of things like my mic is USB-C. Love that. This is neither. And
the Sony. Another
reason, the Sony, which is why I'm slowly phasing it out. I like the idea of having an accessible... there are a lot of things. I think it's fair to say not everybody got on board with the transition to USB-C. And so I like the idea of having some legacy ports still accessible.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, everything I'm hearing about this Mac Mini, for price alone, I'm like, oh.
I like that structure because I'm a futurist and I hate legacy ports, so I'm like, just get it over with. But I like the idea of you pay a premium for the legacy ports. It's like you want to include HDMI.
It's a pro feature.
Yeah, those are
legacy.
pro features.
Just like HDMI and SD card reader for the pros is a pro feature now.
If you're trying to save money, then you just get the future. You just get all Type-C. And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of that way. And remember, the Mac Mini still has an M4 Pro variant. So that one might, that might be like the perfect desktop. That's part of the reason I decided to bite the bullet on an external monitor, was because I was like, this sounds like the best Apple product of the year, and I want to review it. So I need a way to review it. So,
to get ready for it?
Yeah. I was like, this is time. I got to get a big screen. I'm tired of doing everything on that.
Do you feel yourself sooner rather than later retiring the MacBook Pro?
No, I'll keep it going. I really hope that
it'll probably be in the same vein that I use my MacBook Air,
right?
Which is also here,
exactly.
But it's mainly just the travel laptop that can do the things that I need. But it's not necessarily the most powerful thing that I have in my ecosystem. But
if it turns out, I've always leapfrogged over the years between MacBook and desktop. Yeah. But if it turns out that for an affordable price, which is what the Mac Mini has always stood for, I could spend a few $100 and get a faster editing machine that just stays at home, and then the laptop can be the on-the-go editor. Why not? That sounds like it could save a little bit of time, save a little bit of desk space. So I'm not saying I'm definitely getting it, but I'm very curious. If there was another Mac to consider, that's the one I would be tempted by.
That's the one I should have gone with. Yeah. The studio was a mistake. I've got way too high of a ceiling. I use it for podcasting and editing, and that's basically it.
Weren't you doing something with graphics? I thought
I was trying to, but it didn't really make sense at the time for what I was interested in. It was kind of me forcing my way into an art form that I wasn't interested in. There's a whole spectrum of art, and I was going to like the far back left of it when I'm more focused on the front right.
Very well. Yeah, I like the idea of having a multi-Mac office, in the sense for an individual, for home offices.
Yeah.
The idea of, cause, I think we talked about it on the last part. I definitely see myself next Mac, whenever that may be, will be a studio or a mini, or maybe an iMac of some caliber. Technically my longest running Mac that I used was an iMac, and it did everything I needed to do. And
no battery to go bad.
No battery to go bad. It was always 4K. It did start getting that burn-in at the very end. But outside of that, it was...
Your problem has been burn-in for decades.
I use my products.
That one earned it.
That one did.
That one earned... Your iPhone 15 did not earn the burn-in. No. It's not been a year.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, that one's been... the iMac that I was using was... It was just regular iMac. It wasn't even a Pro. It's just iMac. I see that being... my new... I miss having a desktop, just a dedicated desktop, because as I've said here, I've said it on my channel, that I see the Mac as like my foundation. It's my rock, it's my server, it's my everything.
Yeah.
And to me, that shouldn't be mobile. That should be stationary, strong, secure. Nothing's going, no failures of any kind, like a battery. And I love... just now observing for the last 4 years how we've seen the transition to the Apple Silicon go. I'm like, dang, I want a 12-inch MacBook.
Yeah.
More than anything, my compromise was an iPad. And I kind of like what Nick did with the whole M, putting in a cube. And I'm like, I want a really just sturdy, which is then became the Studio. I'm like, the Mac Studio looks amazing. There's no need, other than nostalgia, to have a Mac Pro, in my opinion.
The Mac Pro has always felt weird. It just because it goes against everything Apple always stood for, which was like...
In the early 2000s, it made sense. Yeah. When they really wanted to put power into it, that stuff made sense. But they knew that wasn't like, that's not what's keeping the company alive.
I know. Apple was always about how do we make this smaller? How do we make it more approachable?
Steve Jobs needed the Mac Pro for Pixar because he still owned Pixar at the time. He's like, I need my guys to be able to render these things. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, I'm going to build the thing that Next couldn't. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the Mac Pro was for him. And it just never made sense.
Especially now. It's even
absolutely not. That's not how any.
At least you didn't buy that.
The Mac Pro?
The Studio makes a lot more sense than the Pro.
Well, yeah, but like, it's so great I didn't buy the Ferrari or the Rolls Royce instead of I bought the McLaren P1. But instead,
no,
exactly. I don't need a McLaren.
You don't, but
I need like a Supra.
I'd rather be stuck with a.
Not even that. I don't even need a Supra. It's more of a Supra would be nice, but maybe just the nice little Model 3 performance is good enough.
You made the right mistake.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what my comparison video was all about. But anywho, since this is probably our last one before the event, should we do final guesses? Should we do any kind of last minute?
I'm confident they're going to call it brown.
No.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Or something relating to brown, not bronze.
Not bronze.
I'm willing to stand my ground on this.
All right.
Even though that I'm going to be wrong. And I'm more than likely I'm going to be wrong.
So you are confident that you contradicted yourself.
I did.
You're like, I'm probably wrong.
I am probably wrong, but I'm willing to stand my ground on the fact that
I won't budge.
But it probably will. But yeah.
How about
that's my only prediction. I am hoping for a one more thing. And the one more thing being a ring, but I don't think.
So you like the activity tracking stuff?
Yeah, well, something that is just not another screen that I'm staring at.
You don't want a screen, but you want the activity.
Something that has long battery life.
Okay.
But can do some activity tracking because I would like to get healthier.
If I were to get an Apple Watch, it would also need really good battery.
And by getting healthier, I mean being able to track that stuff.
Yeah.
In which not just by a scale by the end of the day, seeing like, oh, I'm this many pounds. But then like the next day it's like, okay, it went up like 5 pounds. Did I eat terribly? No. It's just different part of the day or different time or anything else going on. But anyways, those are the two things, brown and ring.
Do you think they're gonna up the Pros to all be 256? Is this the year?
I think so.
I hope so. I'm gonna guess that too, just because of the 48 megapixels. All the spatial video stuff they'll probably do.
Those called just gherkins? What is a megapixel?
Gigapickle.
Gigapickle?
Yeah. So I would guess 4K. I think we're going to get 4K spatial video just on the Pros. And I think 256 is going to become standard, even on the base Pro. Even with the bigger, they'll have the bigger screens. I believe that much. And I think they'll call it. I think they'll do Series 10 with the number, because Series X will look too much like the Xbox, and they don't want to associate with the.
I was thinking more of a certain.
I didn't even think about that.
I was thinking of another personality that has social media.
X has a negative connotation now. Because
there's a lot of ranting on Apple recently.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think it'll be Series 10, and. They're not gonna say like to celebrate 10 years. I think iPad Mini will have A18, not M chip. Apple Pencil Pro support. iPad 11. I can't think what the hell. They're just gonna up the chip. They're just gonna go what's it at now? A14 to A16 or something basic. No change in price. Maybe some new colors that you'll like.
I'm all about the colors. That's the one consistent factor, at least for the last year for me.
How about price hikes? Do you think the Pros will be more expensive? Will they finally depart from the $999 for the smaller Pro?
Will be in the $1099 area?
They could say, well, it's 256 gigs. So
then
technically...
Yes. If it's that, then yes.
You think they'll say it that way because they'll say, technically it's not a price hike.
That's what they said last year.
We're just forcing you to get the more expensive one.
That's what they said last year.
Which I say, BS, that's a price hike. Because I bought the cheap one. They removed this option. Even though I regret it, that's not important. The point is, I could.
You made the right mistake.
I made the right mistake.
Congrats.
I did. I mean, to be fair, I have only been recording a tech video and have it say storage full once. And it was for this trip. I was recording like 4 tech videos in a day. And then it filled up. And I was like, okay, it happened. It finally, we hit that moment where it wasn't enough. But other than that, I've been deleting everything in the background. And
Yeah.
it's okay. Final predictions. Wild card. You can go crazy with it if you want.
I'm worried about the Cybertruck. I had to.
Wrong year, wrong podcast.
Yeah.
Wrong product?
With all the Foundation series available, baby.
I don't think we're doing many steel things anymore on the Apple side, right?
That's another thing we didn't mention. They're supposed to get rid of steel on the Apple Watch 10 this year. Just titanium and aluminum. That's it.
Wait, titanium as in the Ultra?
No, even the non-ultras will be titanium.
I kind of like that.
Or they'll be only aluminum.
I like aluminum. I want sapphire glass on aluminum.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all I've ever
That's
wanted.
all we've wanted. Stop putting these expensive metals in our phones.
I just want aluminum with
not helping.
sapphire. Apple, I know you're watching, listening. You know what we want. Anyway.
Hey,
Okay.
what if I committed to, if there's a ceramic...
Don't do this to yourself. Don't do this to yourself.
Mike's
Do
like,
it.
shut up.
No, do it to
PR
yourself.
is...
Do it.
How about I will buy that at some point?
What?
It may not be at launch.
No, just
What, in like
commit.
5 years?
No, commit, Drew. Go all in. Just commit. Let me hear
You
you.
guys are like the angel and the devil.
That's why I know. I'm on the shoulder. Oh, wait, am I the devil?
Yes.
Am I bad influence?
Mike
Yes.
is the angel.
No, you're the devil for denying this guy joy.
I'm not denying him
That's
joy.
what the devil would say.
I really loved that ceramic Apple Watch.
I know you do.
Well, the SE might be
Bite the
coming back,
fruit.
right?
Take the fruit, Drew.
And that's going to be like plastic.
Bite the apple, Drew.
Wait, what are you...
SE? Apple Watch
You're
SE?
pitching me get a plastic watch?
Yeah.
Bite the apple, Drew.
We just need more plastic going on. This is not
You're
just
literally
double.
the snake.
Yeah.
Bite the apple.
Bite the apple, Drew.
The fruit of knowledge.
Get the fruit of not. Get ceramic. Do it.
Then I have got to charge something else.
That's fine.
It'll come with USB-C.
Boo hoo! What a first world problem that is.
The watch?
Yeah.
Okay, that's an out there request, but that's honestly the way to get me back on board with the Apple Watch.
Charge it via USB-C.
Put the Type-C port on the body itself.
Never gonna happen.
Exactly.
Never gonna get it, never gonna
That's
get
why
it.
I'm probably not
never
gonna-
gonna get it,
Never-
never gonna
Never
get it.
gonna get.
But you're gonna get a ceramic.
You know, if they're working on a cheaper vision headset, they should also just replicate what Meta did with the camera glasses. Your wife was talking about that the other day.
Oh yeah, yes.
I think people would genuinely use that, especially if Apple made one.
Apparently so, which I was learning. I was like, oh, you're interested in that.
Yeah. Nick,
All right.
I think, has some, doesn't he?
He did. I don't know if he's doing it right now, but he was really deep
Just
in
a
the
way
sauce.
to take photos and videos without holding the camera.
He showed me
Just put the glasses
that
on.
it was iPhone 7 Plus comparable, which wasn't bad.
And Apple could probably do better.
Yes.
They've got better cameras.
Coming from Meta, he was just going like, boop, and I was like, can I see it? And I looked, and I kind of like pixel peeped on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a softness to it that like an iPhone 7, iPhone 8. I'm like, that's doable.
But Apple would love it because they could say, you know, it's a small device. It's just a camera. There's no like displays.
Yeah.
It's just normal sunglasses. And then they could say, all this is going to your iCloud. You know, you take pictures, it'll fill up your iCloud like no problem.
And then while you're wearing it, you're going to get a little ad. Apple One.
It's gonna be like Dragon Ball Z. with
Yeah,
the
scanner.
or the
They
scanner.
might honestly
Yeah.
sell it at a loss just because
They'll make money
they'll
off the
design it
service.
so that there's no way to move the photos because there's no UI, right? There's no
Yeah.
keyboard, there's no mouse,
Thank
there's no
goodness.
touchscreen. You'll like that. Which means the only way to get the pictures and videos you take off the glasses and onto the phone will be iCloud. There's not going to be some Bluetooth
You're right.
auto airdrop. No, it's going to be, no, it just seamlessly does it in the background. You just check the Photos app and all the photos you took are there. And I'm like, yep, that would fill up the iCloud. So they could sell that at a break even or loss as a means to push iCloud Plus memberships. And that could be in the whole vision section of the website, just so it's not one $3,500 headset. They could be like, here's a $2,000 headset and our camera glasses. Think of all the influencers that would wear that nonstop.
Oh, you think I'm an influencer? The house always wins.
They're wearing sunglasses already. Apple needs to get up. You see how many Apple people are buying every watch band? Imagine now if they made sunglasses where you could have custom lenses and
I think we've had whole podcasts on this already. With Tim Cook's glasses actually being Apple glasses and all that.
Well, I need glasses anyway, so
this is now directly pointed at you.
I put on Tim Cook's glasses and like the mask. Good morning!
I want an Apple Watch. Sounded like
Oh, shut up.
Oh, shut the heck up. Yeah. Okay.
Good morning. I didn't even give my predictions on anything. Straight up.
Well, we ran out of time.
Classic.
Well,
it's great having you
sorry,
on, Randy.
couldn't make it, Matt Damon. We're all out of time.
Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next week, and we'll have some more things to be disappointed by. Honesty.
Integrity.
We're critical. We don't just say everything's great.
Math. Yeah.
Why am I? Honesty, integrity, math.
You were gonna point. What were you gonna say?
I don't know.
Which is what I said. Math.
I think I was gonna say muddy.
Money. That's true.
We will see you
money.
all next time.
Bye.